Okay, good morning, everybody. Greetings and salutations. It is Larsen Live. It is the last day of August, August 31st, 2024. And how are we all doing today? We opened up with Montage by, I don't know, I guess it would be DVDA or Parker and Stone, whatever. It was from Team America World Police. It is the Montage song. No, Ponythroat, this is not a dead stream. I don't know why it says that. I mean, my microphone is on. I don't know what the problem is. Anyway, it should be playing just fine. Okay, just a little bit of playback seems to be going fine on my end. Let me just respond to this chat. And okay, so you might be asking, why did we open up with a song about training montages? Well, because we'll just get to the title story. A 70-year-old man is being judged on his incline bench. More specifically, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has tepidly come out endorsing Donald Trump in his Grover Cleveland-esque presidential run in 2024. He has come out, saying some things about we need to make America healthy again. Maha. I agree, personally. And there's videos of him that go viral every now and then of Bobby Jr. hitting the bench. And according to Swan Marcus, I can't be the only one who thinks it's hilarious that RFK Jr. hates Big Pharma, but he's clearly on steroids. Referring to a video in which RFK Jr. hits an incline bench. He is in pretty good shape for an old man. I mean, I guess you can have a lot of time to get in shape when you drive your first wife to suicide and then hook up with some actress from Curb Your Enthusiasm. Yeah, he's not a great human being, but I do agree with the notion that America does need to be made healthier. He's against the pharmaceuticals. He's against the corn syrup being put into everything, which caused a massive spike in American obesity rates starting in the 80s. I'm with all that. And if he came out and advocated for the return of the La Sierra fitness program in public schools, I would be even more with that. But, he's doing his incline bench. By my estimate, it's about 120 pounds, not a lot. And I think it's pretty funny that people can't conceive of a man being able to bench 120 pounds and not be on steroids. He's a 70-year-old man who talks like Kermit the Frog. He's not going to do massive amounts of heavy lifting. He's going to do light weights with reps. Personally speaking, I plan on weightlifting until I'm about 60 or so. Then I'll just do entirely calisthenics from that point forth. But that's just me. Anyway, there's certainly other things you can criticize RFK for, but this is not it. And I don't even know if the way he treated women is pretty shitty. But come on, he's a Kennedy. What do you expect? The whole Kennedy family does not have a great track record with the ladies. Never mind the fact that he probably is on some kind of TRT, but that's apparently legal. Fun fact, steroids were legal in this country until 1990 or so, and purely on principle, I think they should be legal still. I have no interest in doing them, but, I'm basically libertarian about these sorts of things. If you want to ruin your life and get massive amounts of bacne and shrink your balls, and, more power to you. Okay, looking at the comments, Ponythroat says, I just joined during a brief bit of dead air. It's fine now. Yes, that does tend to happen on occasion, but it's okay. We are jockeying between 5 and 4 viewers. Hopefully we'll get some more as we go on. Nobody who has a good physique could possibly do it naturally. It upsets me a bit that this country is so disgustingly unfit that people can't conceive of anybody putting on muscle without the roids. I mean, there certainly are a lot of people who are on steroids, like the Hollywood actors and such, ballooning up muscle wise between roles. But, RFK Jr. has explicitly stated he is on TRT, so I can't really judge him for this, when there's clearly many other things that you can judge him for. But yes, let's make America healthy again. I agree. Not helping matters in that regard, going to our next story, is that Time magazine comes out and advocates for ultra processed foods, junk food, in other words. It was on Time magazine by a Jamie Ducharme on August 27th. People were a bit upset at this. I'm also upset at this. Time magazine quickly kind of scrubbed it and changed the title to be something along the lines of "Some doctors think that ultra processed foods aren't so bad." Eat your government slop, wagey. And we'll get to wages being given slop in a second, but more on that in a bit. Yes, I have noticed that, especially on Zitter or Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, Exeter, people are turning more towards health and fitness, and we can't have that. Oh, yes, the people are unhealthy. Let's just pretend like they're not. It's not so bad. Just take some pharmaceuticals. It's not too difficult to not eat crappy food. Look at the label. Is the list of ingredients bigger than your thumb? If so, it's bad. In fact, with most foods, it should really just have one ingredient, like flour or beef or apple. I mean, in an ideal world, that would be that would be what you do. Only buy things from the grocery store that have count them, one ingredient. You can make your own ice cream, make your own bread. You want to eat healthy because you want to be all hippy dippy. I want to be healthy because I want to rob the government of its power. We are not the same. Looking at some comments here. 23rd says, I find it somewhat impressive. The British actor Brian Blessed can bench 320. He's the oldest man to climb evidence, I think you mean Everest, and walk to the magnetic North Pole, typing in his mid 80s. Well, I mean, Prince Voltan is going to take that shit laying down, sir. Is there no man in Rome who has not slept with my daughter? I would do the proper impression, but I don't want to scare the neighbors. Albert Diaz says, I saw a video in which a large woman cried when the doctor refused to give her a handicap plate. Yes, being so obese that you're handicapped, the only handicap that you give yourself. I really don't understand how people can even get to be that fat. Like, I've told this story many times, but I broke my foot in a pretty bad car crash, and it's what they call a Liz Frank dislocation. It's basically you knock all the phalanges right off the tendon. Yeah, really bad injury, and I was basically just sitting on my ass for like 6 months, not doing anything. And yeah, I put on some weight. The heaviest I ever got was during that time. I was like 230, 240. That was literally from me sitting on my ass for 6 months playing video all day. Like, I don't understand how you can get above like 300 pounds, honestly. Like are you just freebasing like buckets of flan? Like I don't get it. And I will never understand this. But yeah, the mainstream media is telling you to eat junk food. Do it, Wagey. Do it. Yes, I have made my own ice cream on occasion, and at some point I will buy a bread machine and make my own bread at some point. Probably. Then again, I was also told that you can make bread in a Dutch oven, and that was a complete disaster. I'm sorry, not a Dutch oven, a slow cooker. Yeah, every time I've tried to bake in my life, it ends up being a complete disaster. Okay. Ponythroat says getting fat is easy with modern food. Getting to like 500 pounds still requires dedication. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, you can put on weight, but I mean, to be fair, I was living with my parents when I did get to my heaviest, but my parents don't buy crappy food. I was eating like a lot of food, but it was like normal food. So I put on some amount of weight. But I didn't get to be a giant ham planet. Robert Diaz says only 1% of large people are actually large because of a medical condition. Yes. Shinseki Evans says the jolly fat person is a myth. Obese people are not happy people. They eat their feelings. I mean, some fat people are jovial. Most of them aren't. It's like, I mean, say what you will about Davis Orini and how he's gone off the cliff, but he did say it once. It was pretty pressing how you can tell the difference between like, the jovial fat person and a not so jovial fat person. Like the jolly fat man is usually like a chef, something like that. He's just got like a big gut, and he looks happy. It's like Barry the pub, the happy pub owner, and the like kind of miserable fat person is just fat everywhere, not just their gut. They have like weird like hunchbacks and stuff, and just they're all like sweaty and haggard. There's your difference. But yes, I am all for uh, regulating crappy food. I have, inside me there's two wolves. One is the, guy who wants people to be healthier, and the other one is sort of the libertarian who wants people to, be allowed to do what they want. So, I think it's a fair compromise. You can put warning labels on ultra processed junk food. Like, Surgeon's General warning, this food will give you massive bitch tits. Or something similar. But I digress. Let's see, what do we have? Since we are talking about food and things, I guess we can get to this now. We're going to leave America and go to the UK for a bit. From BBC News. For 40 years of service, a man is awarded 40 sausage rolls. Kevin Parsons was presented with a certificate, along with other gifts at a ceremony in the supermarket. A shop assistant in Guernsey was awarded 40 sausage rolls for 40 years of service. A 56-year-old Kevin Parsons started working at the Alliance supermarket in 1984. He was given a certificate, a tropical mural for his home, and 40 sausage rolls. This Anglo-Wagey, described as an Alliance celebrity by the boss, said, "Words cannot express my appreciation for his gifts." Yeah, that's one way to put it. Okay. So let's see. He started doing deliveries, and he went to the freezer section 38 years ago, and he keeps warm by running. Okay, the chairman of the Alliance Market said Mr. Parsons is a great member of the island community. He's exemplary. Okay. Hey, thank you for 40 years of service. Thank you for dedicating your whole life to us. Here, have some puff pastry and meat. Out of curiosity, how much does a sausage roll go for nowadays? Okay, now I have to do the dubious task of looking up English grocery prices. Okay, let's see. The Wikipedia article on sausage rolls has a picture. Okay, 80 pence for one sausage roll. 80 times 40 is 3,200 pence, which, what was that, 32 pounds? So yeah, here's your monument of 40 years of service. Let like 4 hours worth of pay. Sausage rolls. I don't know. I will never understand the logic of, some corporate boss like giving somebody $30 worth for 40 years of service. In popular culture, says Wikipedia, from 2018 to 2022, English YouTuber Lad Baby had 5 consecutive Christmas #1 singles on the charts with cover versions of songs where the lyrics were rewritten to reference sausage rolls. I love sausage rolls. Don't stop me eating. And sausage rolls for everyone. The entire island should take a step back and like just rethink their life choices. Looking at the comments here, Ponythroat says, in other news, I sped up my internet via a hobo tier homemade waveguide antenna made of empty bean cans and wire. Best internet I ever had. I really admire your innovations, sir. You can order yourself some sausage rolls. Okay, moving on from that. Let's go back to America. Let's not make fun of the UK because America is going down the shitter just as fast, if not faster. Okay, so remember how we were talking about a few months ago how New York City tried giant marital aid robots and they failed miserably? Apparently, the dream of robot cops has not died yet because Atlanta, Georgia is now doing them as well. Reports from the Twitters, autonomous robots deployed in Atlanta to detect threats amid crime concerns. Okay. The Atlanta Police Department has shared that 34 crimes have been reported in this particular neighborhood in the past 7 months: murder, kidnapping, sexual assault, and felonious assault. I mean, yeah, it didn't work in New York City, but let's try it down south because maybe it'll work there. Again, I don't think these robots are armed, so these giant weeble wobble robots are not going to be any more effective in stopping crime. Look, unless you turn these things into Daleks and just have them like shoot people, it's not going to accomplish a damn thing. Or alternatively, you can do my idea. Just hollow out most of the robot, turn it into speakers, blast classical music, and scare off the brappies. Either that or the Dalek thing, but I don't think they're going to do that. Fucking police robots. Yeah, just keep trying the police robots. It'll work this time. Ponythroat says Greg's sausage rolls in the UK cost like £1.50, exorbitant. Okay, great. So it's like 60 pounds worth of sausage rolls for his 40 years of service. Good show. Oh boy, Wally, let's try to set up police robots. I'm surprised that there hasn't been like videos of brappies like tipping over the police robots and like smashing them. And of course, they wouldn't be punished one iota. Because of course they wouldn't. Yes, only animals and proles are free, as Orwell would have put it. Leaving Atlanta and going to California, something went a bit viral on the Twitters. Some woman who looks like she should be selling water out of a clay pot in Segovia, but regardless. An insider speaks out on the US government. I am a former government employee, and today I would like to tell you all that the government fucking hates you. Well, I could have told you that. I am the former executive assistant to the board and superintendent of Santa Rosa City Schools in California. For each grade level, our literacy rate is only 50%. The teachers are educating the children through indoctrination. As our literacy rates decline and the children become borderline fucking retards, you can thank lovely Governor Newsom. I encourage you to get out of California. They can't read and the government hates you. Yes. I mean, I could have told you that. Yes, schools continue to suck. We're not allowed to discipline the children. And everybody wonders why everything goes to hell. Of course, the main reason is that if you just, I don't know, if you actually wanted to fix the problem, you could solve this very easily. But they don't. Narco-tyranny is a hell of a thing. It will never stop surprising me that, they messed up California this bad. God put Eden on earth and you blew it. Once again, I'd like to point out my idea to say the schools are a combination of allowing shitheads to drop out after 8th grade and furious punching. Couldn't be any worse than what we're doing now. Looking at the comments, says, Ponythroat says, those robots have tow cables like the ones used to trip up AT-ATs on Hoth. These are the choke Michael Jackson impersonators. I mean, that would, if that was actually what they were armed with, it wouldn't be bad, but I don't think these things have any armaments. They're just like giant robot butt plugs that kind of run around and like beep at people. Robert Diaz says, those liberal cities also hate charter schools. They get better results for less money. They tolerate no bad behavior. Yes, indeed. Now, granted, I've only ever had bad experiences with charter schools. I'm still owed a substantial amount of money for lost wages from a charter school. But hey, if it works, it works. But I mean, look, the major problem is that a lot of parents seem to think schools are like surrogate babysitters. They do nothing to teach their own kids, and everybody suffers. Shitty people shouldn't be having kids, I say, but no one listens to me. Alright, what else we got going on here? Oh yeah, speaking of a narco-tyranny, what the deuce is going on in Colorado? Armed gangs of Venezuelan migrants are basically taking over apartment complexes, and people are afraid. The police chief of Aurora, Colorado is like, I don't think it's a big deal. Waka waka. Again, so much of what sucks about this country could be solved if we just, like, wanted to solve it, but we don't. Boy, people are stupid. Now, of course, I am a teacher by trade, so I'm a bit concerned with the schools. That's why I talk about it so much. And yeah, I don't see I don't see many other ways to get out of this besides, enforcing strict laws and just furiously punching the shithead kids. Okay, moving on from that. Let's see, what do we have here? Hey, leaving America behind and going to Asia for a bit. To nobody's surprise, now that the Taliban is back in power in Afghanistan, they are severely curtailing women's rights. Women are no longer allowed to even sing in public. And that's a shame because who doesn't like listening to a lovely female voice? Apparently they don't. So, yeah. No more singing in public. I guess this is what happens when, angry middle-aged men who hate sorority girls get into power. They ban women congregating and doing what ladies naturally do. personally, I mean, I feel like somebody's trying to like get us to invade Afghanistan again and set up another prop government again that'll get dissolved the second we leave again. Because you got to protect that lithium and poppy fields. I don't know. I have no interest in going back to the sandbox. But nor do I understand the logic of banning women from singing. I mean, perhaps they like listening to young boys sing instead. In fact, I'm almost certain that is the case. I mean, Robert Diaz says Charles Bronson's going to travel to Colorado to take on those gangs. Where are you when you need you, Charles? I mean, the thing that pisses me off is like, you know that if somebody did form like a vigilante group to take them out, they would be the ones who get punished. But yeah, can't say I approve of either hostile gang and narco tyranny takeovers or the traditional tyranny of the Taliban banning women from congregating in public. I don't approve. And speaking of men furiously angry at women's congregation, yet another, dancing around sorority girl thing happened. I don't know if it's a sorority thing, but it's a bunch of ladies wearing workout gear dancing about. It is a deep house yoga event where a bunch of women are wearing their yoga clothes, and I guess they did their yoga, and then they ended it by dancing around to a Taylor Swift song, because of course they were. So saith Trust Fund Terry on Twitter, which I guess I should have expected. Smile politely, everybody. We're witnessing mental illness. And as usual, I have no objections to this whatsoever. I mean, am I a big fan of Taylor Swift? No, not at all. I mean, I've had to buy much of her sheet music for my students. That's neither here nor there. So she's gotten probably about $100 from me in total. But yeah, I don't understand why things like this just make some men absolutely furious. So saith the aforementioned Swan Marcus, the man who has a very idiotic take on RFK doing bench presses, but he was right about this thing. I've said this before, but I find it kind of hilarious how the same conservatives who say they want men to be men and women to be women get incredibly furious when women have fun in a stereotypical feminine manner. Yes, my thoughts exactly. Is there any way women could act where you wouldn't hate them? He asks. Yeah, I don't think they would. I mean, you could put them in burqas and keep them inside like the Taliban do, but I think they would still be angry at them. And again, like, this dancing isn't sexual. It's not like they're not flapping their buttocks around arrhythmically. I don't know. I don't understand why this upsets people so much. Yeah, if you get mad at seeing like physically fit girls wearing yoga pants and dancing around, maybe you're not a heterosexual. Just saying. Is it just that they're having fun without men around and that just infuriates some men? Yes, I think that's what it is. Now, of course, I am a, suit wearing patriarch who forces his will upon the ladies in my past, and I am now in the present. I only occasionally enforce my will, but like, even at my worst, I've never gotten angry about this sort of thing. I'm just gonna say it. If you get angry at like women doing shit like this, you are a weak man. And you don't have sex, and there's a problem. That's entirely your fault. You're the reason why. No, Degeneracy. Me. It's like, come on, if you're gonna get mad about women listening to some popular music, like, is Taylor Swift really the worst choice here? There's a lot of shit on the airwaves that's a lot worse. Thank God they're not listening to that horse shit. Thank God they're not listening to like mumbling mongoloids. I mean, say what you will about Taylor Swift, at least she can play a goddamn instrument. Hey. Robert Diaz says the person calling it mental illness clearly is overweight or has a troll face. Well, I don't know if Trust Fund Terry has a. Let's see if I can find a picture of this sack of shit. Just give me 1 second here to open up the Instagrams. Okay, here's a. What do you mean? I must be 16 years old or over to see this profile. I am 16 years old, damn it. Well, he has several parody accounts on Instagram, so you know that's good. Okay, I can't find a picture of this asshole, which probably says something. He doesn't want pictures of himself airing out in the open. Yeah, I'm going to wager that despite having a trust fund and being a quote unquote 1%er, I'm going to wager this guy probably doesn't have sex with anybody he doesn't pay for. Just saying. You can have all the money in the world, but still be a complete chode who can't get laid. I hate women. Shut up. Okay, and finally, bridging the gap between the real news and the pop culture news, let's stay dealing with sexual dynamics here. Women might be annoying, but apparently, hot rodent men are the sexiest Hollywood heartthrobs today. So saith the Daily Mail. Gen Z fans are going wild for actors with unusual features like Barry Keoghan, Kieran Culkin, Timothy Chalamet, and Jeremy Allen White, like handsome rodent men. Now, what this means is, they want guys with like big noses and pointy chins and beady little eyes, and apparently that's what's hot nowadays. I don't know if that's the case actually. I don't know if there's any women watching this, and probably not. Do women find these like soft rodent men attractive? I don't know. Now, out of curiosity, is it possible to be a hard, muscular, strong man, but also a hot rodent man, like some kind of capybara man? Or is this a bunch of dweeby feminine men trying to enforce their will on society and try to like change society so that they will be considered attractive? I mean, this is what women have been doing for many years, but maybe the men are in on it as well. Hey, I'm trying to. I mean, a lot of women are fucking Pete Davidson, so I guess as some women like Dear Rat Boy. I don't know. It's like until I see this like happening in real life, I'm not gonna believe it. I don't know, it's like when people talk about how everybody's like splooging to the K-pop boys. Like I haven't really seen that in real life. Nor do I notice women going wild for like rat-faced knackers. Then again, Hollywood's also trying to force like women with like hammerhead shark faces on us, and I'm not into that. So, yeah, I'm gonna wager this is a psyop. Yeah, don't care for the rat-faced knackers personally. Okay, so now that that's underway, let us just talk about the popular culture. So, speaking of masculinity and rat-faced knackers, we're gonna go as far away from that as possible and discuss that classic film Predator. On August 23rd, somebody had a very stupid take about the classic film by John McTiernan. And I quote Val at VKHM: Predator is great because it begins as a really good 80s action movie, then it becomes suddenly about the total impotence and failure of that kind of muscular jungle fantasy, the dream of Rambo colliding into the reality of the Vietnam War. Oh boy, let's break down how stupid this is. First of all, the dream of Rambo colliding with the reality of Vietnam. First Blood was the reality of Vietnam. That was literally the whole point of the movie, you idiot. Like, First Blood, Rambo comes back from the war, severely traumatized. All his friends are dead, and he can't hold a job because he has a useless skill set. Oh, this is the reality of Vietnam. Yeah, it happened 5 years before Predator, you moron. Secondly, the impotence and failure of muscular macho fantasy. Oh yeah, I remember. In Predator when Arnold loses all his weapons and his snap decision to beat the Predator involves painting himself with mud and going full unga bunga in the jungle, ultimately beating the Predator to death with a rock. Yeah, that's the the impotence of muscularity there, moron. Like that is the muscular male fantasy. Like, scary Skyman, come down, Unga Bunga must, kill with rock. Is this where the media literacy comes in? It's funny, the people who always whine about, the media literacy, they're the most media illiterate people on the planet. Media literacy just means coming up with the most fake and gay take about anything possible. As far as I can tell, that's what media literacy refers to. Okay. Seapunk Messiah says, if their tendons are strong enough, then yes, they can be wiry little scrappers. Presumably referring to, rat-faced knackers being strong. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I've known some little guys who are strong as hell, but, they're not headlining movies, so I don't know about that. Seabung Messiah says Griffith and Guts both embody a masculine ideal in some ways, minus sacrificing your friends, of course. Well, yes. Uh, Griffith is sort of the Machiavellian schemer and, heroic leader who gets corrupted. And Guts is, of course, the, brutal strongman who has a heart of gold deep down. Yeah, I would definitely say that. But Yeah, this is possibly the dumbest take on Predator that I've ever seen. I don't know. Do these people wake up and be like, do these people wake up and say, hey, you know that cool thing you like? Yeah, I'm going to ruin it, make it gay and lame. I will never understand the attitude somebody has towards doing such a thing. These fucking people. Okay, moving on from that. Let's see, what do we have here? Speaking more about the movies, apparently there's going to be a all-female reboot of Fight Club. Yeah, speaking of media literacy and masculinity there. Yes, Greta Gerwig is set to direct. Margot Robbie and Charlize Theron are in talks to star. Again, Fight Club, literally a movie about the impotence of masculinity in modern industrial society. How do the broads come into this? I don't know. I mean, is it going to be about lesbian relationships? I would have to assume so. But yeah, this is another example of the media literacy crew failing completely to be media literate. This is a story specifically about impotent, male masculinity in the modern age, written by a gay man who was closeted during the time. He wrote the book about how, based upon how he was like trying to cover up his gayness by acting as like belligerently macho as possible. Yeah, let's make this about women because that makes sense. No, that doesn't work. Whether they're straight or gay, like manhood and masculinity is sort of the fundamental core of the story of Fight Club. These fucking people. Ponythroat asks, the big question is, did Casca enjoy it? Boy, that's a... Well, she enjoyed it with Guts. I don't know about with Griffith. Robert Diaz says, the new female Fight Club will be about women trying to steal each other's man. Yeah, I mean, what isn't like Real Housewives or some shit? Isn't that basically female Fight Club? Or like Love Island or some shit like that? Like that's basically female Fight Club. Ponythroat asked, can you even make a Fight Club movie without casting Fred Durst? Was he in the movie? I thought he was just in the video game. But I'm sorry. What about Greta Gerwig's like filmography suggests like a bare knuckle boxing movie would be her oeuvre, her forte? I don't see that. It's a woman Fight Club. Yeah, that'll be great. Okay. Now we're going to talk about video games briefly. But before we do that, let's bridge the gap between movies and video games. And also politics. That's right, folks. It's time to shit on Moviebob, which we haven't done for a very long time. So saith, there's a bit of an argument on Twitter going on about how Robert Shipman may in fact be the most influential left-wing intellectual alive today. In that, basically they've adopted his, casual hatred and contempt for the chuds. Now, there was always sort of implicit in much of left-wing discourse, but Moviebob literally coming out and having genocidal hatred of the, farmers and plumbers who kept him from his Star Trek future and going around on a starship. He made it explicit. And now, that's also being explicit amongst left-wing spheres. People are literally talking about, the boob armor and, like, representation in video games and crap like that. Yes. Yes, Bog Beef says the left has evolved to Moviebob theory. Keir Starmer. Sounds like what Bob was saying 10 years ago, Keir Starmer being the PM of the UK. Shipman is the Michel Foucault of today. Yes, in 2014, Bog continues. Bog Beef. His rhetoric was freaking out the comrades. They wanted to be like Bernie Sanders, just free healthcare, everybody else being cool. Bob talked the way liberals do now before Trump. He is the most influential left wing intellectual alive. Also, he points out that leftist intellectuals talk about video games more than they ever did before. For a leftist professor or news anchor, you have to talk about boob armor or chuds in gaming. The ADL now has a team that tracks slurs being said in online gameplay. Oh my god, I think he might actually be right. I think Moviebob might legitimately be the most influential left-wing writer working today. Which I guess just shows how, galaxy brain the left is nowadays. So says every chill dub SK. He's probably the most successful person in the world at getting mainstream politics to adopt his personal beliefs and niche positions. He was so ahead of the curve, and yet he is still broke, friendless, and miserable. Well, I mean, to be fair, Karl Marx was also broke and miserable, but maybe that says something. Anyway, what I said in that thread is, I just hope that since his views are now mainstream, maybe Bobo can stop marinating chicken in garbage bags with Mountain Dew and like hot sauce packets from Taco Bell. Oh, that's probably not going to happen. Shinseki Evans says Bob gassed the working class Chipman. Well, I mean, those damn working class blue collar rednecks kept him from his glorious future where he could like fly in spaceships and have cyborg bodies that he could upload his brain into. The damn coal miners ruined his life. Fuck, I hate them hints so much. Okay. C-Punk Messiah says, more people need to learn about Joseph Greenstein, the mighty Atom. Yes, very interesting. I like to read about the old-time strongmen myself. He was a sick boy, and he worked his way up, and he beat up 20 Nazi sympathizers. Yes, he did. The mighty Atom was a good man. Hey, Ponythroat says, referring to Moviebob, was his book not an intellectual masterpiece and thoughtful deconstruction of Bing Bing Wahoo? Well, I mean, technically it wasn't because he wrote about Super Mario Brothers 3, which did not have any voice acting. So, technically it was not a deconstruction of Bing Bing Wahoo noises because there was no Bing Bing Wahooing. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Like, I'm sure Charles Martinet's a nice guy, but his Mario voice is fucking shit. Gotta bring back Lou Albano. But yeah. You should all watch my video on SMB3 Brick by Brick by Bobo. Yeah, so apparently this is the quote that this whole argument was started about from Bob Shipman. I sympathize with the desire to be bent by empathy for the ignorant. Once myself, I had the same weakness. Understanding that their inability to be fixed was their failure, not mine, was one of the most freeing experiences of my entire life. You might say that they are life unworthy of life. Obergruppenführer Shipman. Yes, the Moviebob or Hitler game is always a lot of fun. Shinseki Evans says, Bob agrees with you about Mario's voice. Well, I guess even a stop clock is right twice a day. I'm referring to analog clocks for those of you young Zoomers who don't know how to read clocks. Ponythroat says, can we even take Moviebob's criticisms of Mario 3 seriously if you never played it with the Power Glove like Miyamoto intended? I mean, he didn't really criticize it. He literally says it's the best game ever made. I mean, it's a very good game to be sure, but I don't know if it's the best. The bulk of his book is just him slowly playing through the game, writing out in text every jump and move that he makes, while also slowly moving into a basement apartment that floods with feces every now and then. Yeah, I haven't heard much from Bobo recently, which is a shame because he's always good to talk about. Okay, moving on from the old games, now going to the new games. Apparently, there was a $150 million game called Concord, or something like that. It was released on Steam, and it flopped miserably. The budget for the game was about $150 million. I don't know why. And it made about $180,000. At no point has there ever been more than 700 people playing the game. This is a Sony game, and apparently Sony liquidated their Japan studio, the people who made like the Souls games and Shadow of the Colossus, to send more money to developing Concord. From what I gather, it's some kind of like Fortnite-esque, Rudy Tooty, jump and shooty, like multiplayer game. But it's woke and it's got ESG and DEI, so all the character designs are just the ugliest goddamn shit you can imagine. Yeah, so Concord failed miserably, and everyone's upset about this. I love how I remember a few weeks ago we talked about like how is Nintendo winning the console wars even though their graphics are not as strong as the others. Well, apparently for the past 5 years or so, Sony's whole strategy has been, hey, let's just make a bunch of shitty games and let's see if it works. Well, spoilers, it doesn't work. I mean, I certainly have my issues with Nintendo's you know, creative vision, but at least they're not doing this shit. Again, I haven't played Concord. I have no interest in playing Concord. It uh, it looks like dog shit to be honest. Like, let me just open up this shit heap. Okay, open up the image here. Give me 1 second. I mean, hell, like calling it Concord could have made like a Revolutionary War sim first-person shooter, and that would have done better than this. Like what the hell even are these character designs? Okay, we have a giant fat brown woman. We have old woman. We have Josh Brolin man. We have some chick who looks like she sells patchouli. This is shit. Like, this is fucking dog shit. Look at some comments. C-Punk Messiah says, I'm currently trying to get mild strongman strength. So far, my best feat is bending a mid-sized nail. Well, a lot of the strongman stuff is technique. Like I've ripped phone books in half, but again, it's just because of technique. Bending cold rolled steel. It's, you got it's all technique. Ponyfoot says he made a let's play on paper, referring to Moviebob. Yes, he did. like, I don't really care for Let's Plays much to begin with. I mean, I'll watch them occasionally, but you know how to make them even more boring? Write them down. Ian Kempster says, I refuse to wear a digital watch. I love my Movado and Bulova. Yeah, you know, the watch industry actually did a really smart thing once digital phones became ubiquitous. They just upmarketed. They rebranded watches as like men's jewelry, and watches are still going strong. Ponythroat says, referring to Concord, 8 years, 150 million bucks, an Overwatch clone made 5 years too late, with a shitty Guardians of the Galaxy aesthetic. Got its ass handed to it by a developer's first game based on 16th century Chinese mythology. Yeah, so the like Sun Wukong Black Sun or whatever. We're gonna talk about that in a little while. But first, let's talk about this shit. Rick says, doesn't Concord have a straw man old white guy telling them that people don't want politics in their games? I have no idea. I saw this and I was like, this is dog shit. Robert Diaz says, Concord is a train wreck. Dustborn is a bigger train wreck. C-Punk Messiah confirms. You think that's bad? Wait till you learn about Dustborn. Yeah, I don't know what Dustborn is. Okay, yeah, so Dustborn is some other piece of crap. Dustborn literally looks like something that would be on the GameCube. It looks like that, Killer 7 or something. God, this sucks. Again, is the strategy literally here just, let's just make a bunch of shitty games and waste all our money? I guess so. Once again, the modern audience completely fails to show up. But yeah, speaking... Wait, okay, C-Punk Messiah says the big difference is Dustborn didn't take 8 years, $150 million to make. Yeah, so I guess they might actually make some profit on that because it wasn't super expensive. But yeah, speaking of that, Wukong Black Myth, let's talk about Wukong Black Myth. Yeah, so the Wukong game was made by a bunch of college geeks, and made a lot of money, a shitload of money. Oh, but before I talk about that, I gotta, holy shit! Like, I'm looking at the Concord character designs, and this is ass. Like, I mean, you got to see these character designs. This might be the worst goddamn shit I've ever seen. Okay, Concord, featuring, going from left to right, we have, like, Australian Outback pimp guy, fat space marine, homeless orc woman, like, box intestine woman, fat chick. Well, this is complete dog shit. Yeah, I'm never playing that game again, that's for sure. But yes, let's talk about Wukong Black Myth. From what I gathered, it appears to be some sort of God of War clone in which you play as Sun Wukong, the Monkey King from Chinese mythology. Seems pretty good from what I've seen. But, of course, there's really stupid discourse about this game. Yeah. So says Aaron. Fun fact, Wukong is literally... Wait, hold on. Okay, so what happened was the studio that made Black Myth Wukong says influencers please not include feminist propaganda or COVID-19 references in your discussion of the game. This upset some people because apparently the Journey to the West story is a feminist tract, apparently. Citation needed. He is pro-abortion, pro-women's choice, and one of the few people he respects is a woman, Guan Yin, the goddess of mercy. There are multiple cases where he's shown advocating for women. I don't know about that. Yeah, somebody puts it best, like, it's a picture of Squidward. It's like, no, Patrick. The 500-year-old Chinese story about a monkey who can travel 30,000 miles with somersaults is not a feminist text. Yeah, because I'm pretty goddamn sure that Ming Dynasty China, not exactly a feminist hotspot. Just saying. So it was a society that was foot binding people and had, concubinage. So I'm just looking at some footage from the. Yeah, it just seems like seems kind of like a God of War clone or maybe like a Souls clone. Yeah, probably more of a God of War clone, but it's pretty decent for what it is. Nice budget game, looks pretty decent. And the indie studios are once again dog walking the big studios. Okay, Seabunk Messiah says the video on Black Myth was quite informative. I'm gonna have to watch that. Ponythroat Throat says it strongly looks like they ripped off Guardians of the Galaxy, but they made it shitty. It's like the store brand Guardians of the Galaxy, like Watchers of the Solar System. Seapunk Messiah says we go back to like early 2000s designs, those were peak. Yes. Actually, there's quite a lot that I think was better in the past about like character designs. They were certainly much better back in the day, like late 90s, early 2000s. That was like the peak. So you see, it's not just Nintendo. Everybody's going out of their way to make their characters look like little bitches. But yeah, pretty damn sure Journey to the West, not a feminist tract. Ian Kempster says, forget political messaging in games. Give me Shinobi, Double Dragon, Black Tiger. Yes, I agree. That's when games were good, when they weren't trying to cram politics into everything. But no, games are just going down the shitter now. Not to be outdone by Concord. Remember when Call of Duty was good? It's not anymore. Yeah, apparently there's like pro wrestlers in Call of Duty nowadays. Like, why the shit are there WWF wrestlers in Call of Duty? I'm sorry, why is Cody Rhodes like blasting people with a shotgun? Like, this, I'm sorry, what the shit is this? Like, does anything make sense anymore? Didn't Call of Duty used to be like historically accurate and stuff? Yeah, I was talking to my parents the other day. My dad actually found my old copy of Call of Duty Finest Hour for the GameCube, which, was the first Call of Duty I ever played, and it was good because it was historically accurate. But now we're just like verisimilitude. Like, are we goddamn children? Like, with waving keys in front of each other's faces? Like, oh boy, like this doesn't make any sense. I just want flashy, flashy, shooty, shooty. Like, people I know. Yay, I know that person. Okay, apparently it wasn't Cody Rhodes. It was apparently the new Crow movie in theaters, which I heard sucks really bad. Fuck Call of Duty. Fuck all these bullshit like Skinner box games that don't make any sense. C-Punk Messiah says the Tang Dynasty was the more feminist era, I do believe. Well, yes, and that they had a female empress, and they didn't really start doing the foot binding until the Ming Dynasty. I mean, they still had concubinage, though. Ponythroat says the Tang Dynasty also had a delicious, zesty orange flavor. Yes, very much so. Personally, I reserve most of my ire for the Song Dynasty because the Song Dynasty deliberately destroyed the military aristocracy of the Shi. The ones that deliberately the ones that influenced the Japanese samurai, and the Song Dynasty replaced it with bureaucratic dweebiness. And wouldn't you know it, that 3 out of the 4 conquest dynasties happened under the Song Dynasty's auspices. So, really, like, if anybody can be blamed for the whole dweeb thing, it's the Song. But nobody wants to talk about that. Ian Kempster says Call of Duty Cold War is okay. I haven't played it. Ponythroat says Call of Duty gave up being about actual war in like 2014. Yeah, that is unfortunate. It used to be good, but no more. I know, I don't understand the appeal of like seeing completely disparate characters like running around shooting each other. It doesn't make any sense. And finally, leaving digital games and going to analog games. The bad people are ruining Dungeons and Dragons once again. I'm sorry, Rings of Power first, actually. It ties into Dungeons and Dragons, kind of. Apparently, the Lord of the Rings Rings of Power show, which nobody likes, but they're giving new seasons to anyway, they're showing orc families, orc women, and orc babies. This despite the fact that J.R.R. Tolkien said that there were no orc ladies and orc babies. Orcs were supposed to represent humanity at its most base and evil, and as such, there wouldn't be orc women and babies. In fact, it was deliberately subversive when things like Dungeons and Dragons and the Elder Scrolls put in orcs with real cultures and civilizations. It was deliberately subverting the Tolkien model. But no, we're just ruining what Tolkien wrote down, and this does tie into D&D because the innocent orcs are just illegal immigrants now, according to D&D. It sucks. This all sucks. I don't know why Rings of Power is getting a second season since it's complete shit. Well, actually, I do know it's because Jeff Bezos is just throwing money at it and hoping that something will stick. But yeah, that also ties into Dungeons and Dragons. Ancient Dungeons and Dragons, to be specific. There is debate once again about should we have wheelchairs in RPGs? On Facebook, a Lisa Smith Beasley says there are many amazing character designs. Check out the original post for lots of examples. We see some kind of like gray elf pimp man shooting a flintlock pistol, and then we see a tiefling in a wheelchair dual wielding swords. I'll let that sink in for a second. He's dual wielding swords while in a wheelchair. You need hands to drive a wheelchair. A lot of people were disputing this image and laughing at it, so the Facebook page just started banning people outright anybody who reacted to this image negatively. There's nothing funny about this post, says Penelope Daniels, moderator. Laugh actors are being banned. Idiots who want to butt actually the reality of wheelchairs on a boat in a dungeon. You have no problem suspending disbelief regarding fantasy creatures, magic, fae, monsters, and deities. You're being booted or muted. I don't understand this logic. Well, you accept that there's like demons and fairies and stuff. Why don't you accept that there's wheelchairs? I can accept wheelchairs existing. I can't accept wheelchairs going into a goddamn dungeon. I can't accept that Lord Nemesis is going to put in wheelchair ramps so that you won't hurt yourself. I can't get over the idea of dual wielding weapons when you need one hand by definition to roll your wheelchair. I can't accept, fighting pirates in a wheelchair. And of course, it's a tiefling because tieflings are played by really annoying theater kids exclusively, but from what I've noticed. Like, I cannot go into how many ways this doesn't make sense. Like, first of all, there's literally a magic spell for cure paralysis in Dungeons and Dragons. Secondly, like, can you not have like the slightest bit of creativity here? Like metal spider legs, like centaur legs, a magic carpet, like anything. That would be more fantastical and it would actually make sense. Like there are like blind weapon masters and stuff, and like blind martial arts masters in D&D. Just like, think for 2 seconds, people. Oh no, like the rogue in the wheelchair couldn't turn around fast enough, so he got stabbed in the side of the throat and died instantly. The end. I mean, if I was really cruel, which I mean, I guess I am, if I was the DM and somebody insisted on having like a wheelchair in my game, I would fuck with them so much. I'm not gonna lie. It's like, okay, you enter a cave. There's rocks. You have to be carried over the rocks. Oh shit, there's kobolds. The kobolds stick like a metal rebar into your wheelchair and you go flying into the ground. Yeah, roll a 20 for a dexterity challenge. Roll 20 for dexterity, I should say. I mean, that's kind of mean spirited of me, but what can I do? Hey, we got a lot of comments here. Seapunk Messiah says they put the Tang in the Tang Dynasty, gets booed off stage. Ponythroat says Tolkien was a bit vague how orcs reproduce, changed it every time he had lunch. He later did specify they reproduce in the same way men and elves do. I don't know, some of what he wrote kind of says like they were like sort of made. Seapunk Messiah says, makes you wonder what was going on under Orthanc. Ponythroat then says somebody's going to find a gelatinous cube at the bottom of a staircase with a wheelchair floating in it. Doesn't even have. I highly doubt that a wheelchair adventure would even get to any dungeon that has gelatinous cubes. Like the first time they, like honestly, like your average group of kobolds would be able to completely stomp a wheelchair adventurer. Like, literally, just throw like a bucket of sand in the way, and like they're stuck. Robert Diaz says this person's going to create limbless sword masters. Ponythroat says, "What is wrong with wheelchairs in D&D? You got to roll for everything anyway." It's just not conducive to being an adventurer, I feel. Ponythroat says, "Wheelchair users have a hard time escaping the gnolls." Well, yes, of course. Again, I don't understand why you couldn't just like magic yourself up some prosthetic legs or something. Yeah, the people who come up with this idea clearly have never like done any kind of martial arts or anything like that. Like, you're not going to be able to swing very powerfully if you can't put your feet on the ground. And I love how people who are actually in wheelchairs and disabled are like, this is stupid. Then of course there's also the issue of like, even if I was in a wheelchair, why would I fantasize in a fantasy game about being crippled? At the very least, just magic yourself up some prosthetics or something. That does it for my prepared remarks. If you want to say something else, you can say it now. Hunterthroat says lots of tasteful wheelchair D&D jokes involve rolling. Yes, of course. Okay, say your last pieces now if you'd like. Okay, doesn't look like anybody has anything else to say. So for Larsen Halleck, this has been Larsen Halleck. All of you have a good day.